Hey squad, welcome back to Prepping with Sarge. Today we're going to talk about the 6 skills that every prepper or survivalist or homesteader should be learning for food self-sufficiency. If you learn these 6 skills, you're going to be well on your way to food independence. Stay with me now. You know, I know this is hard to think about now, but there was a time in human evolution where people didn't have a grocery store that they could go to just go pick up their groceries. There was no DoorDash, there was no Uber Eats, there was no electricity, there was no refrigerator to preserve your food. So the first skill that I want you to think about for developing food self-sufficiency, food independence is foraging, right? So here we have, just as an example, these are cattails. You can see right there, those are the seed heads. Cattails is a great plant to know about. I've got over 100 videos and a playlist that, you know what, we'll drop that somewhere up here, of different ways, different things you can forage. I try to gather, when I'm traveling, I try to grab a few films while I'm traveling to show people from other parts of the country some plants that might be available to them. So check out that playlist. You definitely want to learn at least, I'd say, 5 plants in your area, in your region, that are edible. And a lot of times these also have medicinal purposes as well. So it's good to know that as well as a prepper or a survivalist. You know, if things get kind of crazy and grocery stores are not getting filled, things like that. This is a skill that if you had to leave your location, you basically, you're taking that skill with you, right? So I feel confident that in my part of the country, I could travel within 500 miles and I can find food anywhere within that 500 mile range. Once I start going outside that range, my skills do diminish a little bit, because the further out I get from my home base, the more I'm likely to encounter plants that I don't know, and the less likely I am to be encountering plants that I do know well. So, you know, there's only so much that I can train with this, unless this is going to be your full-time gig and you're going to learn plants from all over the country. Now, the good news is there are some common plants that are grown almost all over the North America. And that might be a good idea, is just focus on those 5 or 10, you know, 5 or 10 from that group to start, such as, you know, dandelions, things like that. But foraging is number 1. All right, number 2, and I think a very important. You know, one of the things that I really love about silver and gold as a prepper is that it is one of the most anonymous forms of currency in the world. Did you know that right now somebody somewhere in the world is using silver and gold to get out of a war zone and taking their silver and gold into a new country and exchanging it anonymously for the new form of currency? Silver and gold is the only form of financial currency that has survived collapse of empire after empire for thousands of years. Folks, I've been partnered with APMEX for a few years now, and I'm really happy to endorse them as a brand. Really excited to be able to talk to you about them whenever I get the chance. I've ordered from APMEX myself for years, always get exactly what I've ordered. It's always shipped discreetly, so it's not broadcast to the delivery driver what exactly is in the package. So there's no security risks there for me. I've been super happy with them, and I know numerous people in my audience have used them, and they've also been really happy with the results. So in my opinion, it is the safest, most reliable way to order silver and gold online. You can always check them out using my link that I'm going to put on the screen right now. And that helps me out because it tells them that I've been a good brand partner with them when people use my affiliate link. It's no extra cost to you, and I'm actually not getting a specific commission when you use that link, but it does tell them that I'm being a good brand partner for them, okay? So please check them out and tell them Prepping with Sarge sent you. A very important skill that all preppers and homesteaders should be learning is gardening. Now, I know gardening has a huge learning curve. Believe me, most people don't get it right on their first year. It's something that you don't want to, you know, I know there's a lot of people out there that have these seed vaults and seed banks that they're saving their apocalyptic seed collection, and they think, well, if worse comes to worse, I'll just start a garden. It's not going to work that way. You have to learn in advance. And the first season especially is a big learning curve. You know, there's going to be a lot of things that don't work, and you're going to have to figure out why, right? So why doesn't it grow in your soil? Why doesn't it grow in your microclimate? Did you give it too much water? Did you give it too little water? Did you give it too much sun? You know, is there too much nitrogen in your soil? There's so many complexities to it. It's like chemistry, really, that you don't want to try to learn that after an SHTF happens, after a big apocalyptic situation happens. You want to learn that in advance. But it's a great skill to have. It's so fun to have. It's so fun to grow your own food, and nothing, believe me, nothing tastes as good as food that comes out of your own garden that you grew. All right, number 3 is hunting. So I will give you full confession here. I am not a good hunter. I've just never really taken to it. It's a great skill to have. It's something that I probably should work on, should get better at, but hunting will put a lot of food on the table, especially when we get to the second part of this series, which is food preservation. I'm going to tell you a couple different ways that you can preserve all that protein that you get. But hunting is absolutely a skill that many preppers, survivalists, and homesteaders should be thinking about. And if you want to be fully self-sufficient, fully food independent, never have to go to the grocery store again, you're going to have to overcome that barrier and the learning curve that's involved with hunting. Get yourself a friend who is much better, who's experienced with that, and basically ask them to take you out and teach you everything you know. You should probably offer to, split anything you get with them, or at least buy them lunch. That way, you're giving them a little bit of reimbursement for their time and skill that they're sharing with you. All right, number 4 is snaring and trapping, right? Now, snaring and trapping is a fun skill to learn, even if you never plan to use it to catch your food. From a survivalist perspective, from a bushcrafting perspective, it's a lot of fun to learn how to rig up these traps with stuff that you find out in the woods. It's something that I've been working on, and when I feel like I'm good enough at it, I will show you some videos on what I've learned. But you can start with if you can look this up if you want to, the figure 4 trap is a good one, figure 4 trap. There's different kind of snares that you can use. And, this along with hunting, you start looking into, to be successful at this, you want to be watching different patterns that exist in terms of like animal traffic. So you might start to look into tracking and looking for, when you're out in the woods, maybe you start looking for little burrows like those two there, where animals might, go when there's storms coming, or maybe they're sleeping in there, and like where nearby water sources are. All animals have to go to water, and they'll often do that at morning and at night, like sunrise and sunset. So being aware of their patterns, look for little game trails, things like that, and that's where you're going to rig a lot of your traps and snares. And you can get into like what are different types of bait, right? So that can be anything from a little bit of peanut butter that you have in your bug out bag to maybe some berries that are very popular. I just passed some smilax berries back here, which I was actually surprised because the birds usually get those really fast. So if you found something like that, that might be some good bait that you could put with your snare. But snaring and trapping, number 4. All right, number 5 is sprouting. Now, this is a skill that I think a lot of preppers and homesteaders and survivalists sleep on. It's not as sexy as hunting, and not as like mystical as foraging for medicinal plants and things like that. Sprouting is actually extremely easy to use, to learn and do. Basically, I'm going to give you the basics of it right here, but I have a video about sprouting that you can watch up here. The basics of it is that there's certain seeds that are you can sprout them, and you don't need any sunlight. You need very little space. Basically, you're going to sprout them in either a glass jar or in a sprouting bag. And again, if you watch that video, I show you where you can get all the kits for this stuff. And there's certain seeds like radishes, I believe mung beans can be done this way, sunflowers, that you sprout them and you can actually eat the sprouts. So you can store a ton of these seeds. Radish seeds are super cheap. You can store a ton of them for very little space. And basically when you sprout, within 5 days, you're going to have a harvest. So within 5 days, you're going to have these sprouts that are edible, and they're highly nutritious. They're packed with plant protein, and you can eat them raw, you can eat them cooked, you can eat them in a sandwich or a salad or however you want to eat them. But if you learn this, you can store a ton of food, very small space. You don't need sunlight. You can do this indoors, and within 5 days, you're going to have food. Within 5 days, so you're never going to starve. Sprouting is if you tried to live only on sprouts, I don't know. Eventually, maybe you might have some malnutrition issues. But these things are loaded with a ton of nutrition. Maybe not everything that your body needs, but sure has a lot of it. This is one that I don't understand why the community sleeps on this. It's a must learn. All right, number 6, the last one that I'm going to talk about today. Well, actually, no, I'm going to give you one bonus one after this. The number 6 skill that I think preppers and homesteaders and survivalists should learn for true food self-sufficiency would be fishing, of course. Now, depending on where you're living in your part of the world, that might be saltwater fishing, that might be a freshwater fishing, and there's many, many different types of fishing, right? There's fly fishing, there's spear fishing, there's bow fishing, and of course, reel fishing. So you want to learn what's going to make sense for your area. You want to learn what are the good good fish to catch and where they are. And again, if this is something you've not done before, it's going to take a little bit of skill development. You probably want to find somebody that can take you out and teach you a few things, buy them lunch, share your catches with them, however you want to make sense of that, or maybe you trade a skill with them. But fishing is my number 6 skill for true food self-sufficiency. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please remember to give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider giving me a subscription. And don't forget to check in the description down below for some links for some products and companies that I like, that I think you'll like, that might make your prepping journey a little bit easier. One last thing, I wanted to give you a bonus, which is probably not going to go into this too much in another video, but if I was going to do a 4th one in this series, the bonus skill would be livestock management, right? So obviously, if you have chickens and goats and cows and things like that, that's going to increase your food self-sufficiency quite a bit. That could be a whole nother series of videos. Maybe we'll do that down the road. I know I did do a chickens video. We'll go ahead and put that up here. You can check that out if you're interested in it. Keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.